Hello, kids. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day. Glad to have you with us. It's 12:04. May I be the first to say a good afternoon to you and yours. It's Wednesday, March 6, 2024. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Allow me, if you will, to get these pleasantries out of the way, and we'll get the show lumbering under its own weight. It's episode 525 of our proceedings from noon until 3 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm happy to be here. We're on the radio side of things, obviously, internet streaming available to you. Just download us wherever you stream music or information. You can stream Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and we invite you to take us wherever you might go throughout the course of your day. You can also watch the proceedings on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. In doing so, one, I would suggest that if you're watching if you're watching Chris Hand, that makes a lot of sense because Chris Hand is the pretty one of the group. But if you're watching me, you're a little bit of a masochist. You're also noticing that Bel K is not present and accounted for on the television side of things because he chooses not to participate except for this. He entitles every episode. And today's episode, 525, is entitled
The Undisputed Winner of the Guam Primary, Matt Murphy. Now we tip over the island. Libertarian lunch, noon to 3, seafood.
Did you say seafood?
Yeah.
Mike Johnson. And then Mike, no, it was Johnson. It was Hank Johnson.
The guy from Georgia?
The guy from Georgia, the Republican from, the Democrat representative from Georgia, for those who don't know, said that the Marines were going to tip over the island of Guam because, the island can't take all of that activity on one side of it.
That will never not be funny.
Oh, no. Because, that's what islands do. They just float around the ocean, randomly going where they go.
Occasionally hit a boat and sink it.
Yeah, that's right. That's the way Democrats think. Democrats not too happy with the outcomes of the presidential primary contest last evening. Obviously, Joe Biden cruising through, winning a lot of states. Donald Trump cruising through. And earlier today, Nikki Haley making the decision that she was suspending her campaign. I love the way that the Tennessean characterized this. And I don't normally, I go there. I do so you don't have to. There are a few occupational hazards in this job. One of them I talk about quite often. That I watch organizations like #NeverCNN, so you don't have to, because it's a part of the job. We have to observe what leftists are doing in order to understand their tactics, understand they're crazy, and I take the hit so you don't have to. And I do the same thing with the Tennessean, and I actually have to pay for that because they're behind a paywall. I love the way that they characterized Biden v. Trump. And this was actually the Tennessean regurgitated it, but it came from their parent company. I think it's Gannett, if I'm not mistaken. And USA Today. Susan Page writing for USA Today. The headline, a rematch nobody wanted. Biden v. Trump, 2024. I'm going to start with a simple question. Is it a rematch that you wanted? Because I'll tell you, it's a rematch I wanted. It's a rematch that I support. And it is the easiest path for sanity to return to the White House in 2024 and beyond, considering that Joe Biden is such a weak president and even a weaker candidate, and Donald Trump, by many estimations, would have, certainly absent COVID-19 and all that went with it, would have easily cruised to re-election in 2020. And what with all of the electioneering and shenanigans that went on, much of which went on because of COVID-19, we all believe that Donald Trump would have been the victor. But he was not. And because of that, it's a rematch that I very much want to see, and a rematch nobody wanted. Who are you talking to, Susan Page? You're not talking to me.
But Biden's won the last 5 polls. The last 5.
Oh, my gosh. That guy. Do you have that available?
I don't. I should have pulled it up.
Oh, my goodness. I
tried to find the version that I saw yesterday where he told them to stop reading the New York Times, and I can't find it now.
No. It was right on the back end of that quote, right? Where he said,
Yeah,
It
exactly.
was the same quote. It was the same clip where Joe Biden's kind of half whispering and half, it's one of those weird things that he's done over the last several years. He did not do this back in the day when he was sane or was not dementia-addled, but he does it now where he does this half-whisper deal. You guys, I've won the last 5 polls. I have it. I have to pull up my X machine in order to get to it. It's creepy, to say the least. And
it's
Joe
also
Biden,
hilarious to watch him, pitch slap one of his biggest supporters.
Well, and here's the reality. None of that's true. There's on no planet is that true. There is no 5-poll series that Joe Biden has won in the last whatever amount of time. During this election cycle, certainly. But Joe Biden understands and believes, and this is a part of the problem. Without the mainstream media propping up Democrats wouldn't exist. It will be a theme of the show today between noon and 3. The manner in which the mainstream media responded to what, for many of us, was a fait accompli, and that was that Donald Trump finally and completely dispatched of Nikki Haley. They can't believe it. They can't understand why anybody would go out and vote for Donald Trump. After all, democracy is on the ballot, they tell us. Democracy is on the ballot. I heard it over and over again. My wife brought me in to our, we call it the Bob room because of her dad, but it's like our little sunroom area where we've got a television out there, and she was watching a program. She said, I wanted you to see this, and it's this woman from Texas coming out of the polls, and it's one of these standard exit poll interviews. Well, do you mind if we ask you a few questions? That kind of thing. And they're talking to the woman, and they said, well, how did you vote? And she said, well, today I voted for Joe Biden, and I'm not really that excited, but, I feel like democracy is on the ballot. And I genuinely don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what they mean. The only explanation, they're just regurgitating garbage that they hear from these talking head nonsensical networks that don't have anything nice to say about Joe Biden. They know that they can't justify anything that Joe Biden's done as president of the United States. They know that his presidency has been a disaster. And so what? They're left with democracy is on the ballot? What do you... I'm not going to get overly excited when I say this, but may I suggest that democracy is the ballot? Democracy is the ballot.
But it won't be if Trump wins. Our ability to vote will go away.
Democracy's on the ballot. What does that... genuinely speaking, surely there are a few liberals that are not so dumb that they can't use a telephone, that you can't call me, and I will give you all of the grace in the world to explain to me what that means. Democracy is on the ballot. I know a lot of times I ask rhetorical questions in a fashion by which you know the real answer to them, and we do so to mainly mock liberals or mock the media or whatnot. I genuinely don't understand what they mean, except that they are saying that they're insinuating that Donald Trump is an authoritarian dictator that will not relinquish power once he gets it. Bell?
Yep.
You follow these things much as the next guy. Do you see any holes in the argument that the liberals are making that Donald Trump is an authoritarian dictator type that will not relinquish power once he gets it?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is they said that last time, and he did give up power.
Oh, really? Really? Is that what happened?
Now, I will admit he didn't. He was not hyperbolic about it. And it's a personality trait with him, is hyperbole. But he ain't the president anymore because he left. He gave up power.
Democracy is on the ballot. John writes in and says, we'll have to wait for Brian Wilson to confirm or deny these 5 Joe Biden polls. That's true. Brian Wilson and I have talked much about my disdain for polling, and Brian digs into the polling, and I don't begrudge him that. I get it. I understand where he's coming from on it, so it's not like we're at loggerheads over the issue. I tend to ignore polls in March because I know how much changes between March and April and May. I understand that it's a snapshot in time. I get all of those things. We were talking about it last night. in our big show, which I want to get to before I get too far away from it. Thank you so much. I want to thank each and every one of you. I had never been to the Nashville Palace. I know that it is somewhat of a Nashville institution, been there for a long time. If you've never been, it's right next to, have you ever been, Bell? Right next to Willie Nelson and Friends.
I was there last night.
And Cooters.
Yeah.
You know, Cooters is over there.
Yeah.
And I've told myself I need to get to Cooters. Cooter, the best character name in television history.
Dukes of Hazzard. He was their mechanic friend, right?
That's exactly right. Had his tow truck, and Cooter would, drive around Hazard County, helping people out when he could.
Anytime they busted up the General Lee, he fixed it for him.
Oh, yeah. Cooter had it in his shop. Jiffy Quick. He was taking care of business over there. Uncle Jesse. He'd help out old Uncle Jesse when he needed it. Daisy, obviously. Anybody in town, anybody in the county would help out Daisy.
Of course.
Boss Hogg. He wouldn't help out Cooter. No. Sheriff Roscoe Pico. I'd love to Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid.
It's amazing how many people that were on that show were also on Andy Griffith.
Yeah. I mean, Denver Pyle, who played Uncle Jesse, obviously was
on a lot.
He was head of the Darlin family.
Yes, he
was
the
patriarch of the
guy
Darlin
that played
family.
Boss Hogg was on there. Guy that played Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Pete Best.
And
I think that's right. Is it Pete Best?
No, he was the drummer in the Beatles.
Well, I'm gonna figure this out because I want to. James Best. I think his last name was Best. I'm gonna find out.
I think you're right.
I met him one time. There was a Mayberry reunion day in Alabama, and I had an opportunity to meet him. And what? Hold on a second. 4515 just said something to me. On the super text line, the Members Nutrition super text line, we have to record scratch and stop the show. Is that real? Thank you. Jerry Reed built Nashville Palace.
Did he?
I don't know. 4515 says he did.
When did Jerry die?
Cooter, Sally says Cooter is a Democrat from North Carolina. Cooter was, I think Cooter started out as a Democrat from North Carolina, and he became a Republican. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's true, Sally, but one way or the other. And Sally also reminds us that it was James Best and not Pete Best. Pete Best, as Bell mentioned, was in fact the original drummer of the Beatles before he got replaced by Ringo Starr, and that's very sad because Pete Best did not get his comeuppance. James Best was a fabulous actor, and yeah, he appeared on a couple of occasions. He was he played on Andy Griffith. He was a guitar player.
Yeah, he was part of what was the band?
Oh, it's like Jimmy Beat and the something with the Jimmy Fleet and the band with the beat or something like that.
Jimmy Fleet and the band with the beat. But he, when John Schneider was in here one time, and I asked him if Best actually played guitar, and he said no, because if you watch those Andy Griffith shows, the guitar playing is so good and so interesting that
you never see his head.
It'll pull you out of the story.
What? James Best did not play guitar.
He did not play guitar. That is not him playing, though there are full shots of him with his hand on the neck. So somebody taught him just enough to get by for the shot, but according to John Schneider, he does not play guitar.
I was in a theatrical performance one time where I had to learn to fake playing the bassoon.
Oh, that must have been difficult.
It was, actually.
It's a good thing they didn't stick you with a tuba.
I had to play. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We got more important things to talk about. Cooter was a Republican. I want to believe that, whether or not it was true. One way or the other, it was a great event at Nashville Palace. I just hope that Jerry Reed did, in fact, build a Nashville Palace. He was a part of the original group. 5042 says Jerry Reed was a part of the original group that built the palace. Randy Travis was a cook and a dishwasher at Nashville Palace, and they dined hee-haw there? What? I don't know what that means. Well, one way or the other, it was a great event. Thank you all for coming out. We were on the front side of the Nashville Palace and absolutely adored it. It was the room was absolutely packed. Obviously, Dan Mandis was there. Brian Wilson was there. Matt Murphy, yours truly, was there. Chris Hand was there, and many, many others. And thank all of you for stopping by. We gave out a lot of swag. We had a lot of fun, and we appreciate each of you for being a part of it, and we'll do it again very soon. We certainly hope. Yes, Cooter's real name was Ben Jones, and Ben Jones he did get into politics, and I do believe that he was a Republican, if I'm not mistaken. Brian says, speaking of Cooters, I think well, I'm not going to read that, Brian. I almost got caught. Bad man. Bad.
Wait a minute. You said practically the same thing talking about Dolly.
Well, yeah. I mean, that I never.
He said, I think Daisy was my first indication that he was heterosexual.
Well, you said it nicer than he said it. Yes, Daisy Duke was quite something back in the day. I had already established where I was with regard to the type of what I said was that I do not believe that homosexuality is quote unquote a choice because I never chose to be heterosexual, but I remember the moment where I knew what type of woman I liked, and that's the moment that I saw Dolly Parton. Daisy Duke, all good, all well and good. Dolly Parton was more my style. That said, I can perfectly appreciate what you're talking about right there. And I'm thankful for it. I remember Dukes of Hazzard was the first time, while we're talking on the subject, Cooters and all that, I remember when I was like 12 or 13 years old, Dukes of Hazzard had one of those very special episodes where, like, you know, Boss Hogg was never, he was the bad guy, but he was never the real bad guy. He was the goofy bad guy. He was the foil. He was the heel.
Yeah, he's the guy that got in the way of them solving the actual problem that the bad guys presented.
Right, but then there were real bad guys. And there was one episode, I remember this distinctly. I was watching, it was a Friday night. I think it came on Friday nights. And I was watching, and I'm having a good time watching them jump things and doing all that. And they tied Roscoe up, Roscoe P. Coltrane. And they were going to kill Boss Hogg. And I remember Roscoe getting to the walkie-talkie and begging the Duke boys to, and it turned, because, you know, Roscoe was just a goof.
Yeah.
And when he begged the Duke boys to save his fat little buddy, and he said, I know y'all don't like him. I know he's mean to you, but he's like my best friend or whatever. And it got real emotional. And I remember crying, and my brother picked on me for crying because Roscoe P. Coltrane liked Boss Hogg so much.
What's your brother's name?
Brian.
Brian, good job, Brian. You justified.
Shut your mouth. You and Brian, you're a lot alike. Now that I think about it. All right, we've lots to dissect over the election results last evening. Trump was huge. Biden was absent for most of the evening last night. Kirsten Sinema is now out, which helps greatly Kari Lake in Arizona and helps the chances for the Republican Party taking over the United States Senate. We'll discuss that. Speaking of out, obviously Nikki Haley is out, and it's the rematch that I certainly do want, and that is Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and we'll talk about how that shakes out and how democracy is not on the ballot. Democracy is actually the ballot. We'll discuss that in a moment. It's 12:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Savory Spice wants to see you. Have you been by? Have you seen the incredible selection of spices, salts, different types of blends that they have at Savory Spice? I mean, anything you can imagine. I mean, garlic salt and celery salt. I mean, anything that you can find on the aisle at your typical grocery, you're going to find at Savory Spice, and you're going to find so much more. One, the quality of the items that they have is far greater. It far exceeds any grocery store or any other place you're going to buy your spices. Number two, they have specialty blends that you find exclusively at Savory Spice. Whatever your expertise level is in the kitchen, they can help you elevate that expertise with Savory Spice. So go find them right in L&L Market, on Charlotte Pike in Nashville, and in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. But beyond that, they have gift ideas and gift items at Savory Spice. They have different blends. They have entire meal preparation for you. So if you don't know anything about cooking in the kitchen and you want to do something special for the loved one in your life, for example, they can help you out with that at Savory Spice. Just be sure to tell them a couple of things. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice. I appreciate you doing that. And tell them that you want to elevate that food game. You up the food game by upping the spice game. and you up the spice game at the one and only Savory Spice. There are 2 locations, however. L&L Market in Nashville and on Charlotte Pike, and in Franklin on the Square at Savory Spice. It is 1228 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let me clean up a couple of things before we move on to the meat and potatoes of today's show. Number one, Bell, I just spent the last, I don't know, however many minutes of that very important commercial advertisement break going over the Members Nutrition Super Text line and wondering why so many people were trying to pit me against Brian Wilson. It's like, why are so many people referring to Brian? Said, "Oh, Brian, stop, Brian." And I realized that they were talking about my brother, who I had.
That can get a little confusing. Yes, last names are in order in that case.
Like everyone was agreeing with you. Yeah, Brian was right. I like Brian. I love Brian. Brian, stop the monkey business, Brian. And I'm like, why is what? Did I say something about Brian? I'm confused. And I'm like, oh, wait, they're talking about my brother.
About the polls?
My brother, Brian, man. I need to have him on one day to tell you the story about how we almost didn't get to go to Disney World because I hit my brother in the head with a baseball bat, to which, to this day, he claims he was kidding, but he was not. He had a big old lump on his head. We were fighting, and I told him if he came any closer, I had the baseball bat like halfway up. I choked it up about halfway up in my hands, and Brian was 2 years older than me. And I told Brian, I said, if you come at me, I'm going to hit you with this baseball bat. And he goes, no, you won't. And he came at me, and I went, bip, and hit him in the head, and he went down. And this was like a week before we were supposed to go.
Were you trying to tap him, or were you really swinging?
No, I didn't swing. I just kind of gave him one of these. And so it didn't like knock him out, but it was a big old, it was an aluminum baseball. It was a big old whelp on his head. I was like, shh, we won't get to go to Disney World. We won't get to go to Disney World. But no, he calmed his butt down. And, you know, it was at a time in our lives where my brother, and I, looking back on it now, like later on, there's my mom. My brother walks through. He's got this big knot on his head. No questions. Nothing.
Just
like, hey, how's it going?
Did you get in a fight?
Got a knot on your head, I see. It was a different time back then. And just to clean this other piece up, Ben Jones, I was incorrect. Ben Jones, by the way, Ben Jones, still alive, 82 years of age, lives in Tarboro, North Carolina. He served as a United States House of Representatives member in the early 1990s, late 80s, early 1990s, a couple of terms in Georgia's 4th Congressional District as a Democrat. And in the 101st and 102nd Congress, he served as a Democrat whip and was a member of the Committee on Veterans Affairs and a member of the Committee on Public Works and Transportation. So thank all of you for sending that in to me. He was not, in fact, a Republican. He was a Democrat, but there were a lot of Democrats, good Democrats back in the day. Democrat Party was a different party back then. My grandfather was a Democrat, although he was not very political at any time during my life. 615-737-9986. We'll break down everything that happened last evening and what it means moving forward. Obviously, Donald Trump is on to the general election. He's been that way, really kind of focused that way for the last month or so. Who knows how long Joe Biden will last in this election cycle? I'm well on record as saying I do not believe he can last until November, and I do not believe that he will be the Democrat candidate come November, although that is the best case scenario, and I'll describe that to you in just a moment. It's the same reason why the political left is screaming, oh, this is the rematch that no one wanted. It's the rematch they don't want because they know very well what will happen if it is just Donald Trump and Joe Biden on the ticket, but I don't think that's going to be the case either. Coming up, we'll describe what I think will happen in November and beyond. It's 12:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Do you know that we spend more in the United States of America on health care than any other country? However, we are among the least healthy of nations. There are a number of reasons for that, but a big part is because our system focuses on treating a person after they've become sick, as opposed to what I believe in, and that is preventative maintenance. Much like you prevent a situation happening with your automobile, you ought to be able to prevent certain situations from happening within your body. And one of the big ways to do that is to make sure you understand what's going on. And that's what leads me to Craft Body Scan. I've met with these guys. I've walked through this state-of-the-art facility. It's absolutely beautiful. It's in downtown Nashville. Craft Body Scan knows that when people prioritize prevention, when they take back control of their own health and their own wellness, it not only saves you time and money, in some cases, it can save your life. And Kraft is helping people prioritize prevention this month with an incredible deal. For the month of March, a scan that normally costs in excess of $1,300 per person is available for you, your heart and lung scan being offered for the month of March for $149 for 2 people. You can simply call up and make the appointment, come in and have it done. It doesn't take a lot of time. I've done it, and I believe in it, and I believe you need to do it as well. Do this for yourself. $149 for you and a loved one. No primary doctor needs to order it. You don't have to go to your doctor first and ask for a referral. All you have to do is call Craft Body Scan today. 615-436-1000. 615-436-1000 or online at craftbodyscan.com. Spell craft with a C, craftbodyscan.com. Get peace of mind today. Order your scan today from Craft Body Scan. Is daylight saving time this weekend? Is that right?
Yeah, I always remember that because I have to do a bunch of stupid behind-the-scenes crap that's a pain in the butt.
Do you think it would benefit the listening audience if I offered an explainer as to why we can't go to one time or another? There is a specific reason. We could go to standard time and stay there as a state if we wanted to. But no one wants to do that.
Well, and didn't Heidi, wasn't there a bill passed that if the states surrounding us do it, that we'll do it?
Yes. There was a trigger. I think there's a trigger bill. Sadly, if you go one direction, I can explain all of this for you, but if you go one direction, you can do it on your own. If you go the other direction, and it's the direction that everyone wants to go, you have to get federal approval to do that, which is stupid, but...
So now the federal government controls time.
Apparently so, yes.
Great.
And every year for about a hot minute, or no, twice a year for about a hot minute, everybody gets upset about it. And people like me ask questions of our lawmakers about it. And every year or twice a year for a hot minute, people are like, yeah, let's finally do something. And then it happens, and 3 days later, no one wants to talk about it anymore. I have no idea whether or not we can affect change in this regard, but I want to try. Because I hate the time change. I don't hate standard time, and I don't hate daylight saving time. But I hate the fact that we go back and forth between the two. And if you hate one above the other, then let's just split the difference and call it an hour and be done. Just wears me out.
And we're not an agrarian society anymore. It's not necessary.
No, the only argument that I have heard, and it's not a good enough argument for me, the only argument that I've heard, and there you come, 6788, but think of the children. You know what? The hell with your kids. If you can't get your kids out to the bus stop in a safe and orderly fashion and it's a little bit dark outside, then I don't know what to tell you. And I'm sorry to say it that way, but I mean it. These parents with these kids, stop any action on this activity every time we talk about it. The claim is that if you go to daylight saving time year-round, which is what most everyone wants to do, that means you have more light in the evening as opposed to in the morning. Here come the parents. Yeah, but my kids, it's dark when my kids go to school, and it would be dark when they go to school, and I don't want it to be dark.
Well, we'll just tax everybody to build them night lights outside.
Okay. Yes. Let's promise every child a street light wherever they stand for the bus. We don't ever have to fulfill the promise. We never have to fund it. Let's just make the promise so they'll shut up so we can get this done and over with. Buy them a dadgum flashlight, says Sally. She didn't say that, by the way. I actually cleaned that one up.
You know what? Everybody gets a pair of those kicks that have lights in the heels. There you go.
6298 says, if it were your dog, it would be more important.
And?
Well, yeah. My dog doesn't need to go to school. My dog is perfectly smart as it is. Sorrel Book was never on Andy Griffith's show. I just want to clean that up because there's some people that are very upset that you said so. I don't remember necessarily.
You know what I'm thinking of? He did an episode where he played a general on MASH. That's what was coming to mind.
He did play a general on.
Yeah.
I mean, he played a lot of shows back. I mean, it's easy to. I mean, he was on Gunsmoke at one point. I mean, he was on a lot of different television shows back in the day. But
yeah, he was like one of those go-to character actors for TV back then.
And hated later on in his life, kind of was annoyed by the fact that he became known as Boss Hogg. You know, he didn't talk that way.
That's a price of success,
I
baby.
mean, yeah. I mean, that's you know what I am certain that occasionally, when Kiss plays these stadiums, they get annoyed having to play Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day. But you know what? There it is. Rolling Stones kind of get annoyed at having to play Satisfaction, but there it is. Just start school later. I agree with a lot of you super texters on the Members Nutrition super text
Or
line.
just abolish federal education and go to the daylight savings time.
No more public education, and let's go all to daylight saving time, and we'll be done with it. I don't care which we do, but I will say this. I just hate the idea that we do this. I feel like it's stupid. I feel like and I'm not kidding, most Americans hate it. They hate the change. And and tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how it wouldn't work, because we get stuck on which way we're going. Are we going to go to standard time, which we're on right now, or will we stay with daylight saving time? And invariably, most people want to stay with daylight saving time. But then you get the kids argument. Well, but I don't want my kids to be standing at the bus stop. And once the kids argument gets cranked up, all of the politicians run fleeing into the darkness, because they don't want to be seen as the guy that doesn't care about your kids. Well, I'll be seen as that guy. I think it's high time that you care about your kids. You stand out there with a flashlight with your kids. You had them. I didn't have them. Why do I have to suffer changing my clocks twice a year because of your kids? $89.97. Isn't it dark at the bus stop in the morning in wintertime anyway? I think so. I think what they're saying is that it would be either darker or it would be dark longer. And how many kids are actually riding the bus to begin with? Members Nutrition Super Text Line, very active. Do you even have kids, Matt? How many million illegals in this country? Yeah, let's have our children stand out there in the dark, perfectly safe. A,
stranger danger. Danger.
I do not have kids. B, if I had kids, I would be fully willing and prepared to protect my children myself and not have an expectation that the rest of society has to change our activities to protect your kids for you. That's your job, not mine. And I hate to be the first person to tell you that, but you had them. I did not. You know, I mean, I'm going to come off, if I'm not already, as a little anti-kiddist, but I'm willing to accept that characterization of my attitude about this when I say it. Have you ever been to a big gathering and people with kids and strollers think that they own the joint?
Yes.
Why do they think they own the joint?
Or even like if you're in a theme park or something like that, especially, I have a stroller. That gives me the right of way. No, it doesn't.
I have a kid and my kid's annoyed. Do you mind if I get in front of you for whatever reason? Or I have a kid and my kid really needs this or that or the other. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to live in a civilized society, so I'm going to let this happen. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, why are you getting special privileges because you procreated? It's not that hard. You did not do anything that special.
In fact, every person on the planet is designed to do it.
Right. That's basically how we continue to function as a society. Now, see, here it comes. Matt Murphy hates kids.
Correct. Fact check, true.
Yeah. I mean, if kids weren't so awful.
No,
in my defense, if kids weren't so awful.
Let's be honest, though. You don't hate kids.
I hate parents.
Other people's kids.
Yeah, my kids are perfect. My kids are great. They never give me any backsass or backlash. I mean, I don't hate all kids. I like Chris Hand's kids. His kids are great. They sound great. Never given me any backsass. I just feel like as a society, if we can't manage to figure this one out, we are doomed. You know what? Donald Trump needs to come out with this plan today, this week. President Trump, if you're listening to the Matt Murphy Radio Show, and I know you do, go ahead and come out and announce, as President of the United States, you're going to push an initiative by which the Congress of the United States goes to daylight saving time, and we stay there. And for all of you parents who are worried about your kids in the dark of night having to go to school, I want to abolish public education too, so you won't have to worry about any of that if I'm in Trump's cabinet. 47 minutes after the hour, let's talk to Mark, who's in the borough, who didn't call for any of this nonsense. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Hey, Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, I want to bring up subject matter a little closer to home for most of us. The Nashville Airport Authority, and this thing is kind of like a onion. As you start asking questions and peeling the layers back, you find more and more. Currently what's happening is the Nashville Airport Authority has jacked its employee commuter rates again. And also, I'm one of the victims, have now purged from employee commuter parking. To give a little backstory, I'm a commuter. I fly for a small cargo company. We got less than 20 airplanes. We do international cargo and about 100 pilots. Back in COVID, I was flying my butt off. When the Nashville Airport Authority did not have the revenue because of the COVID restrictions, they jacked the commuter parking 300%, from basically $300 a year, which was pretty standard, to $900 a year. Now, a few years later, coincidentally, with the announcement of Southwest, the Nashville Airport, Southwest announcing they're going to make Nashville a crew base, they raised the prices again to $1,440 for commuter crew parking. That's twice of major hub airports like Dallas, Fort Worth, LAX, etc. Now, keep in mind, Nashville is a medium hub airport. It's increased in volume, but it's not on the par with Chicago, New York, Dallas, or LA. So how can they justify the parking rates? And they had a, quote, study done by the management company. Well, I guess if I pay you enough money, you can justify something for me too. So I'm really questioning the integrity of the study, the conduct actions, the accountability of this airport authority, which leads all the way up to the mayor's office in Metro Nashville. A lot of people are uneasy because it doesn't apply to them, but the airport authority, there's two groups. There's the airport authority and the operations that answers to the airport authority board, which is the commissioners approved by the Metro City Council, appointed by the mayor. So where is the checks, balances, accountability? They're claiming that they're raising the rates and kicking people like me out of parking because of a $4.9 million deficit they're blaming on the parking, which I find really interesting that the airport authority is just spending $4.9 million to demolish the government building on the south side of the airport.
Mark.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why do you hate me?
I don't hate you. I'm angry with the progressive government of Nashville.
You do, Mark. You hate me. You do, don't you?
Why is that?
Because you're trying to ruin my career.
No. But the point is they're talking about record numbers.
You are.
They're charging the passengers to get off.
All right, hold on. I'm going to deal with this, but hold on. I want together. I want us to listen to something. Ready?
Okay.
Sure. Just pause for a moment. And just note, Bell, I want you to listen. Everybody listen to something. Mark, can you hear this? Listen.
Boy, you're going to put something smart. Go ahead.
You know what that sound is?
Nobody cares.
Radios all across Nashville turning the station.
Okay. So how do we address this issue that's affecting people?
Okay. All right. Let me take it seriously. So if you have the ability to boil it, I'm just picking on you, Mark. I'm just funning with you. If you have the ability to boil this down, you're saying that you regularly park at the airport to fly out. Your job requires you to fly a lot.
Correct.
Okay.
I am a pilot.
All right. Oh, you're a pilot. Okay. And
yes.
They're charging you exorbitant amounts of money to park.
They are now the crews, but I have been now kicked out because I'm, quote, not a signature airline with the Nashville port. They even kicked out the FedEx pilots from commuting.
All right. So how could we affect change in the amount of money that you're charged? I mean, how many of you are there?
There's over 5,600 employees that use the Nashville airport parking. I do not have an exact number. However, with Southwest announcement, there's going to be about 650 to 900.
And all of y'all have to pay that amount of money that you're talking about?
The ones that get the airport parking, yes. And that's just Southwest, 650 to 900. That fee,
and your employer doesn't supplement the amount of money that you have to pay to park?
No, they do not. I am not. I am in a small company. We do not have a contract that has a stipend. Some airlines do,
right,
due to their contracts with their pilots or the flight attendants and their unions.
And you don't really have any other options, obviously.
Either I pay $5,000 a year long-term parking, or I drive to Chattanooga.
Well, that sucks.
Yes. Well, here's the case.
So
people.
The 5,000. Hold on, the 5,000 people that you mentioned. I mean, those are the people like you that have to.
Those are all the airport, from the vendors, the service people. They all got raised, but the people they're really nailing it to are what's called the commuters. Those are the flight crews that have to commute into or out of Nashville due to their jobs. There was no air crews based in Nashville for the last 10, 12 years until Southwest made the announcement here.
All right, I have to take this under advisement, Mark, and I have to take a break right now. But I will. I don't know what I can do about it. I mean, you've drawn awareness to it. I mean, I didn't mean to prematurely abort the call there, but I did because I have to take a break. But Mark, I know that I was picking on you earlier. I don't know what to do about it. Maybe a super texter has an idea or two about what we can do about your situation. It sounds to me like the airport doesn't want you there anymore, and I don't know what to tell you. 615-737-9986. Members Nutrition Line is up and running. If anybody has any ideas, it's 53 after. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. I want to talk to you about the world-famous Glock store. We were just talking about the airport for a lengthy amount of time. Yes. Well, the airport is minutes away from the world-famous Glock store, and the Glock store is minutes away from the airport. They're on Elm Hill Pike. You can get to them off Briley Parkway. You can get to them off Elm Hill. I mean, here's the bottom line. I want you to walk through the doors. I want you to see the beautiful, spacious retail shop. I want you to see the incredible Shoot 270 rooms. They'll take you around and show you those rooms. You know, the world-famous Glock store, in part, brought you our event last night at Nashville Palace, and we so appreciate the gang at the Glock store for doing so. They bring incredible retail prices on the retail side of things. They bring all the accessories and the ammo that you can possibly need. I mean, they are your Second Amendment shop, but also the training that you need to invest in. It's one thing to buy a gun. It's another thing to understand how to use it, and they help you do that as well with the Shoot 270 rooms. 2 websites to serve. The retail side is served by Glockstore.com, and the Shoot 270 side served by, conveniently, Shoot270.com. Go there and sign up for training today, or go to the Glock store and see some of the incredible selections of guns, ammo, accessories, and clothing that they have at the one and only world-famous Glock store. You'll understand why they call it world-famous when you walk through those beautiful doors. It's the Glock store, Glockstore.com, or in person, Elm Hill Pike onto Airlane Drive. I know you don't want to make the call. I know you probably don't want to spend the money, but I'm here to tell you the best way to head off costly repairs, breakdowns, or even more expensive early replacement on your air conditioning unit is to make the call to Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Go ahead and schedule that maintenance. Once it's done, and you have the peace of mind knowing that you've taken care of business. Jeff Eddy will come out, or one of his qualified techs will come out. They will service your AC unit at your residence, and it will never cost you more than $125. Let me explain why I say it that way. Because oftentimes it will cost you less than $125. Jeff Eddy guarantees, however, no matter how many units you have at your residence, it's not going to cost you over $125 to maintenance those units. Now, obviously, if they find something that needs repairing, they'll talk to you about that down the road. But the fact of the matter is, oftentimes they don't. They just maintenance the unit, and you know that it's going to be A-OK for the season. Now, when it comes time, and these things have a life cycle, Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, they are a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric, if you want to go that route, or they're an elite contractor with Rheem, if you want to go with the Rheem. EfficientHVAC.net is the website. Go there and find out more, or call them today and schedule that maintenance appointment that you know you need to do. It is time to get it done with Efficient Heating and Cooling. 615-784-4424, 784-4424. All right, here we go. It's Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased you've decided to join us. It's 1:05 and a good afternoon. It will be Joe Biden. It will be Donald Trump. It will be a rematch taking shape as Nikki Haley decides to exit the race, much to the chagrin of the leftist media that wanted to see the Republican back and forth continue for the foreseeable future. The last thing that the liberal press wants, and I'm talking ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, of course, hashtag never CNN. Why do I call it hashtag never CNN? I get asked this question from time to time. It's because CNN is a garbage network full of garbage people spewing garbage on a daily basis. Do not watch CNN. Do not support any of the garbage that they spew out. I watch so you don't have to. And yes, there was a lot of garbage coming out of their mouths last evening, as CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of the networks sat in slack-jawed amazement at the idea that so many of us would go to the polls, as we did in the state of Tennessee and many other states on Super Tuesday, and vote in unison for Donald J. Trump. USA Today, and by extension, the Tennessean, it's where I first saw the headline, was amazed that this happened. So amazed that the headline, Biden, Trump, the rematch nobody wanted. I just want to read you some of this nonsense for a second, because it's pretty funny. By the way, you can call the show 615-737-9986. You can also communicate with us on the Members Nutrition Super Text line. A lot of you choosing that route. It was a lively libertarian lunchtime hour, and we hope to keep that liveliness going in hour number 2 and hour number 3. If you want to divert the attention away from politics and back to daylight saving time, which is kind of a political situation anyway, we can do that. A lot of you commenting. I know that I'm being mean-spirited. I know you feel like I'm being mean-spirited, but I am as serious as I can be. I do not think it's a legitimate reason to withhold going to one time or another simply because some parents are afraid of their kids having to stand around at a bus stop when the sun's not come up yet. I think we all survived it. I know I did. Yeah, but times are different. Well, I mean, then maybe it's a part of your parental responsibilities that you have to go out there and stand with them for a couple of minutes. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't think all of society should have to stop because several of you are concerned that your precious princess or your gladiator over there has to stand around for 30 minutes when it's mildly dark. Is that me being mean-spirited? Maybe. That was a pre-recorded, not a live. I just want everybody to know that. That was also pre-recorded. That was live. The other one was pre-recorded. Susan Page writes for USA Today, barring asteroids hitting the Earth before then, the presidential ballot in November is set to feature Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. I don't know that it has to be asteroids. You know what? I like this. I like that liberals are assuming that it will be Joe Biden because I think it is best for the United States of America that Joe Biden is on the ballot in November because I believe regardless of who else goes to the ballot box or who else actually appears on the ballot, I should say, that Donald Trump will beat the brains out of Joe Biden in November because Joe Biden has been an absolute failure as a president. Well, I don't know about that, Mr. President, considering that MSNBC is not touting your successes. I mean, where are they? What, the Inflation Reduction Act? Wait, so, they have it both ways, right? Where this president is commenting on the Cookie Monster as if the Cookie Monster was real. I don't know if you saw that comment. Oh, Cookie Monster. And he wants to blame businesses for shrinkflation. Have you seen this? Joe Biden wants to blame, he's agreeing with a fictional character who's upset about the amount of cookies he's not getting out of his cookie box because of shrinkflation. He's getting, fewer Oreos or whatever. Businesses are doing this as a way to prevent having to raise prices. If you're in business, if you're in the cookie business, how much business do you want? How much market share do you want?
All of it.
All of it. How do you get all of it? By presenting a quality product at a low price. If you present the best, let's say it's chocolate chip cookies. If you have the best chocolate chip cookie out there at the lowest price, the odds are you're going to get a good portion of market share. You might not get all of it because that is kind of a dream scenario, but you're going to get a lot of it. If you have the best tasting, and taste is a relative term, but if you have the best tasting chocolate chip cookie at the lowest possible price, you're going to get that market share. That's the free market at work, right? Because I want all of the market share. And I'm willing to accept a slightly lower profit margin if I'm able to get all of the market share because my profits are going to go up anyway because I have so many more people buying my cookies. That's Economics 101. That's free market economics 101. Now, the government, or at least leftists like Joe Biden and his ilk in government, would have you believe that those market forces are in no way at play with regard to shrinkflation and how businesses are reacting to the higher cost of doing business thank you to Joe Biden. Why does Joe Biden have anything to do with that? Infusing fake and phony government money into our American economy devalues the dollar and creates inflation. Inflation causes the goods that I have to purchase to produce my chocolate chip cookies to go up. So I have to do one of several things to account for that. Now, I'm already on skinny profit margins because I want all of the business that I can possibly get. So maybe I can cut a little more into those profit margins, and perhaps I already have. Maybe I survive with fewer employees. Therefore, I cut employees and expect the remaining employees to do the same amount of production for my chocolate chip cookies. I could buy lower quality goods / ingredients to go into my chocolate chip cookies so as to save money that way. But I'm going to hurt the quality of my cookie. Remember, I told you, it's quality and price that accounts for market share.
This is a really long way to say corporate greed.
Right? Greedy corporations. Greed. Or a nifty way of doing it is to, instead of including, 28 cookies in a box of my cookies at $5 a box or $6, whatever the price is, I'll put in 26 cookies and charge the same amount of money. Is that sneaky? Well, you can call it sneaky if you want. I guess sneaky is a matter of perspective as well. I call it a good way of attempting to keep my profit margins and keep all of my employees and keep the quality of my product the same in the face of an increased cost of doing business. What Joe Biden wants to tell you, because he's taking no responsibility for any of this, for the infusion of untold billions of dollars of fake money into an economy that's already suffering from billions of dollars of fake money in the economy, devaluing the dollar and increasing inflation. He's not going to admit his culpability, so he's going to suggest to you that if corporations were just less greedy, there would be no shrinkflation.
Trillions.
Pardon me, trillions. Correct. Not billions, trillions. That's a good correction because it's true. So I don't want to bore you with an economics lesson, but I feel the need to clap back at the Cookie Monster. Oh, cookie. Not enough cookie. You're a child, Cookie Monster. A child when it comes to your understanding of economics, free market economics. Obviously, the Cookie Monster is spending a little too much time on Sesame Street and not enough time watching Milton Friedman videos on YouTube. Watch a little Milton on YouTube, and maybe you'll learn something about the free market and how the free market reacts to exterior market forces affecting the price of doing business. This isn't, you know what? I'm a dunderhead on the radio and I can understand it. This isn't rocket science. Or, as my grandpa used to say, it's not brain science and it's not rocket surgery. It's like, you know, one of those long balloons that the circus clowns that always creep me out would make into funny shapes? And you squeeze one end of the balloon, what happens? The other end gets bigger, and then you let it go and everything evens out, and you can squish that thing up and manipulate it in any way you want to, but the amount of air inside of the balloon is not going to change. If you tax a business an additional amount of money and call it a, quote, corporate tax, that might play well to dumb people who don't understand economics. But ultimately, all it does is create a dynamic by which the consumer will pay more, or the quality of the product goes down, or the quality of the production goes down because you're eliminating employees. I do not fault the businesses for shrinkflation, nor should you. It is a byproduct of inflation as to why they feel the need to do it. The other alternative is to raise the prices, which I wouldn't mind either, because I think it would more dramatically dictate to people in Peoria and Aniana and beyond exactly who's responsible for the situation. Gracie calls next on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Hello, Gracie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for calling us.
Excellent. I got to clap back at you just a little.
Oh, clap away.
Okay. My problem with the whole less product thing, whereas you say it's free market, blah, 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 I say it's actually bordering on a RICO Act of affecting interstate commerce. And I'll tell you specifically why with one product that has caught my attention, and that's bacon. They have moved it from a pound of bacon to 12 ounces. But yet when you actually weigh it, it's only 7.6 ounces. And then when you open it, there's only 6 slices. That's deceptive.
Okay, so I think you're talking about two different things, and you're talking about language now that we're talking bacon. I love me some bacon. So
Yep.
if they are announcing the product or if they're printing on the product a certain amount, and I assume this is pre-cooked weight.
No. It's raw bacon.
That's what pre-cooked weight. Pre-cooked weight, right?
Yeah.
Like, they announce, it's a quarter-pound burger. That's pre-cooked. That's before they cook it. So if they're saying that it's 12 ounces and you weigh it and it's only 7.5 ounces, well, that's false advertising. And that's wrong.
Right.
That's wrong.
Very much.
But that's shrinkflation.
Okay.
That's just false. And if that's happening, I want to know what bacon company's doing that, because I'm going after them, because if they're not giving me my 4 whatever ounces of bacon, I want it. Dadgummit.
Well, if you buy the store brand, you're not getting your bacon.
So, you're saying you're buying 12 ounces of bacon and you go home and you weigh it. Are they, and I'm just trying to figure this out, Gracie, are they considering packaging as a part of the weight?
Well, see, I thought about that too, which is why I opened the package and started counting slices of bacon. In my mind, it's just downright deception, period.
Well, I mean, if they are announcing it at a certain weight and it's not that weight, that is false advertising.
Yeah.
And those companies need to be called out, and we need to do something. So you and I are in complete agreement with that.
And if you're doing it across state lines, isn't that affecting interstate commerce?
Well, I guess you could make that argument. We need to get so it's bacon racketeering. It's baketeering.
I like my bacon.
No, I mean, no, it's a good point, Gracie. I mean, I see your point, and thank you for the call, Gracie. I mean, no, if a company is announcing. There's a lot of times that people get mad because the boxes are a lot bigger. Well, it's packaged by weight, not by volume. So that's one thing. But if they're shrinking the amount of bacon you get from 16 ounces to 12 ounces and charging you the same price, that's just a business decision. There's nothing devious about that. As long as they're putting the appropriate weight on the package, and when you take it home and you weigh it, it's an appropriate weight. Now, if what Gracie's saying is the case, and they're announcing, here's 12 ounces of bacon, and you take it home and it's only 8 ounces of bacon, that's something different. That's false advertising, and that needs to be dealt with. We should have an expectation that the ingredients that they claim are in the product are the ingredients that are in the product. I don't want any phony baloney ingredients or any chemicals or whatever. And I would expect that the amount of product that you tell me that there is on the product. Now, Gracie, I didn't ask you this. The slices have nothing to do with it. The number of slices have nothing to do with it. It's the total weight of the packaging of bacon. But if they're telling you it's one size and it's another size, that's a problem. Now, Gracie, if you take that bacon that's supposed to be 12 ounces and you cook it and then you weigh it, well, you're doing it wrong. Because the announced weight is a pre-cooked deal. 615-737-9986 for all of your political and bacon talk. It's the Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stay healthy and get peace of mind with Kraft Body Scans Couples Heart and Lung Scan this March for $149. Let's discuss. A full CT scan of your heart and lungs lasts just about 5 or so minutes, and it can give you a coronary calcium score as well as detect even the slightest irregularities. I know what it did for me, folks. I went in and I had a heart and lung scan. As a matter of fact, I did a full body scan, which you can ask them about when you go in for your heart and lung scan for only $149 for you and your spouse or you and another person. And this is normally a cost of about over $1,300 per person per scan. And right now, $149 for you and your loved one for that couple's heart and lung scan. Now, when I went in, I sat down, consultation. I talked to them about, previous health conditions and whatnot. You don't need a primary doctor to refer you. You can do this on your own. And when you sit down, you'll understand what they're trying to accomplish. They want preventative maintenance of your body to prevent serious illness with your heart or your lungs. When something happens to your heart or something happens to your lung, the signs are there before you feel them. And that's what this is all about, the CT scan. Do this for your health. Do this for a family member. CraftBodyScan.com, spell craft with a C, CraftBodyScan.com. They've been offering peace of mind since 2017 nationally, and they've been in Nashville for about a year now, and I'm so proud to be able to talk to you about them. 615-436-1000 for an appointment. 615-436-1000. Do this for your health. Craft Body Scan. Hey, I found the one guy who just happened to have my telephone number. I found the one guy that missed ABC News at the top of the hour.
Nobody misses ABC News.
Some random I don't know who this is, but if you know who you are and you're currently listening to me, and I should know who you are. I apologize if I don't know who you are, but I don't know that I know who you are. That said, you texted me. And the text said...
Who was it?
I don't know who they are. The text said, doesn't your radio station have top-of-the-hour news anymore? And my response was ABC News is useless.
It's not.
Is that
not
fair?
News.
Is that fair?
Yes, it's very fair.
We will most certainly have top-of-the-hour news starting at 2 o'clock with young McBory as he is back from his extended lunch break on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Alan is in Dixon with a thought on shrinkflation. Joe Biden's got a lot of thoughts on it. So does the Cookie Monster. Hey, Alan, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm well, Alan. What's on your mind?
Well, I tell you what, about all these prices going up, it's really a snowball effect. And what I mean by that is one company, they'll try to change their product and make it a little bit smaller. And then the other companies will say, hey, he's doing it, I'll do it. And it just goes on like that. So it's really not necessary for these companies to really do that, but they're doing it because everybody else is doing it. They're just following along. To give you an example, a bag of oranges you buy at Walmart used to be $3 or something. Now they're $4 or something because they're saying, well, he did it, I'll do it. And it just goes on and on. So it's a snowball effect.
Right. So here's what I would say, because I understand what you're saying. You're saying that one company, like we could do oranges or we could do, gasoline at gas stations, whatever it might be.
Any product. I mean,
one company
you had a product.
Right. One company does it, and then I do it, and then everybody's doing it.
Yeah. That's what's happening.
What happens when a company comes in and provides the same level of orange quality and they don't do it? So,
well, then everybody catches on to it, and everybody wants to buy it, and then they find out everybody's buying it, and they'll say, well, we better bring it in. Now everybody wants it. That's how it happens. The good thing becomes the bad. I saw that happen many times with any kind of product. If it's not selling, it's cheaper. So when it starts selling, let's bring it up a little bit.
Right. So that's the free market working it out.
Yeah, it's that's the way gold. That's why gold's so expensive. You can't go out and pick up a gold nugget off the street. So but all these store products, you take these cereal boxes. They used to be they look the same, but you turn them sideways and they're really narrow. They're real narrow.
But Alan, I mean, back to the central point here that I'm trying to impress upon you is that that the free market can figure this out on its own. So if every orange manufacturer or every orange grower that sells in the stores, shrinks the amount of oranges, or I'm partial to the little Tangelos myself, but
yeah, exactly.
When they shrink those amounts, someone's going to come in and see a market opportunity and seize on that market opportunity if there is a profit margin that they can get in there on. If there's not, true. if the price of producing oranges just goes up to the point that they have to give you less for the amount of money, well, then that's just what it is.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about all types of products. It's not,
right. I mean, I understand that. So, you understand what I'm saying, though, is that the market will handle that situation. The last thing that you want, the other alternative is to demand that government come in and regulate or set prices.
Right.
I don't think you want government regulation of prices.
No, but I'm telling you, though, if things are selling, a product, or gasoline, for instance, if everybody's needed it, it goes usually up.
Well, I have found over the years, Alan, and I'm not talking about you, and God bless you. I appreciate your call, and I appreciate you. I have found that it is the case that people claim that they believe in free market economics until they really, 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 really need something and they don't have enough money to pay for it. And at that point, they seem to no longer believe in free market economics. Now they want government intervention. Now they want government price controls. Now they want government to, quote unquote, stop price gouging.
And to paraphrase Milton Friedman, people that have a problem with the free market economy usually have a problem with freedom itself.
Yep. I mean, I get almost every bit of my belief in the free market. It all started with my understanding of Milton Friedman and reading and watching Milton Friedman explain free market economics. So I'm a byproduct and a student of Milton Friedman. The last thing that we want is for government to set prices, because then you are infiltrating the structure of the free market, and you're taking away the ability of the consumer to dictate the price of product. Right? The consumer. Now, obviously, demand is going to dictate a lot regarding supply and, by extension, price. The last thing you know what government's there for? Government's there to make sure that it is a free that word free, that's what government's there for. to make sure that the market stays free. The government wants to make, like, I'll use your example, Alan, of the oranges, right? The government is designed to make sure that Murphy Oranges doesn't call Bell Oranges and go, hey, Bell, I'm going to put 14 less oranges in and charge the same price. You do the same thing, so neither of us will suffer and we'll make more money and we'll increase our profit margins. That is collusion, and the government is there to ensure that that does not happen, because that perverts the free market as well. And that's the government's role in all of this, to make sure that everybody's playing on a level field and playing on the up and up. But nothing beyond that. Anything beyond that, and now you're perverting the market. In the meantime, I have the Joe Biden clip where he talks about Cookie Monster like Cookie Monster is a real person. I'll play that next on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. For you fellas in the audience, have you noticed your hair's thinning a little bit? Have you thought about what you're going to do about it? If you've not thought about what you're going to do about it, then why not? Because I have an answer for you. It's PAI Medical Group. It's We Grow Hair. You've probably seen the billboards. You've probably heard me talking about We Grow Hair, and maybe you're thinking, well, now's not the time, or I'll wait until a later time. You can stop the thinning of your hair, or you can certainly reverse that by going to PAI Medical and talking to their group about the various things that you can do to slow down the thinning, to stop the thinning, and to increase growth through PAI Medical. And I'm excited to tell you that while I have a full head of hair, I'm a client of PAI Medical because I want to make sure that I continue to have a full head of hair, and I'm doing so through their laser treatment right now. So I've been there. I've seen the process. I've seen the group. They're great people, and they want to see you as well. They've been in Nashville for 26 years. They act in a discreet fashion. So, I mean, you know, some guys are sensitive to this idea of going to a product like this. Don't be worried about that. It's a free private consultation with PAI Medical. Go and find out more at wegrowhair.com. Amazing results. You can see the results yourself right there. 615-376-6010. 376-6010 for our friends at We Grow Hair and PAI Medical. yesterday we had quite a well, if I were Canadian, I would say it was a banger of a show. Isn't that what Chris Hand says? But, by the way, it's the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. To your calls momentarily. It's 1:38, almost 1:39, and a good afternoon.
Is Chris Canadian?
That's what I hear.
Oh.
So, and yesterday when we went to our event last night, I was telling Belle earlier right before the show, the number of people that approached me and thanked me for telling that woman yesterday to go to hell, it was a lot of you. And that's fine. That's all I can. Yeah, well.
That was her.
But I'm going to tell you, for those of you on the Super Text line, based on a conversation we were having earlier with Gracie, the number of you, if y'all knew how hungry I was, you would not be sending me all of these photos of bacon. We have numerous individuals on the Super Text line sending in photos of delicious bacon. Cooked, raw.
I really want a BLT now.
I do too.
Bad, with extra mayo, extra tomato.
Stop it. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
You go toasted bread? Yeah.
It depends.
I can go either way.
Yeah, it depends on how big of a sandwich I'm going to make. Because if you get it really big, just fat, then you need the toasted bread to kind of hold it together.
That's true. There was a place in Birmingham when I lived in Birmingham called Hamburger Heaven that did a BLT with the shredded lettuce and the tomato.
Yeah.
But it was like almost a thicker slice of bread, but they didn't toast the bread. Oh, so good. So good.
I'm starting to, I may have to leave here in a minute.
My stomach is experiencing shrinkflation right now. Rick is in Nashville. He's here to talk about shrinkflation. Hey, Rick.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. I want to tell you a story real quick. My mother-in-law makes a recipe every year. It's called Eclair cake. Done this for a long time, and this past Thanksgiving she went to make it. Now she lives it takes her an hour to go to the store and back, so she's out in the country. And she's making this recipe. It calls for 1 box of graham crackers, and she gets almost done, and she is 4 graham crackers short of being able to finish her recipe. And she was so mad.
I bet.
Called the company and went off on them.
I bet she was ticked.
But yeah, that's one thing. They don't tell you how many graham crackers are in the box. I think we both agree that we would rather just pay a little bit more and get what we're used to getting.
No, I mean I get that, and I agree with that. And frankly, if I controlled the businesses, I would tell them, look, just be honest with your customers. You know what? You're going to annoy them for a hot minute because it's going to cost 25 cents or 50 cents more for the same amount of product. But if I were in charge of these businesses like you, Rick, I would say just charge a little more for the product and tell us why. Say, look, the cost of the product's gone up. We don't want to sacrifice quality. We have to go up a little bit in price.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and blame who's at fault, too,
Well, that's right. That's right. But you know what? The businesses, they take the road of least resistance, the path of least resistance, Rick, and they feel like that many people, unlike, what did he say, his grandmother, his mother, whoever was cooking the graham cracker recipe.
Grandmother.
Yeah, they feel like that most grandmas aren't going to notice. In those cases, grandma does notice. And it bites them on the tuchus a little bit because she's annoyed at them. But, they feel like they come out better doing it this way. That's a business decision. I disagree. I think they need to be a little more upfront and honest about all of this. Hey, look who's in front of the parade. I just looked up. Look who's still alive. The turtle himself, Cocaine Mitch, is out endorsing Donald Trump. Way to attempt to get run over by that parade, buddy. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Our junior senator from Alabama, Katie Britt, do the reply to the president tomorrow night. We think she is particularly effective to make the points that many Americans are concerned about.
Katie Britt's a rock star, by the way.
We're pretty excited to have her do the response to President Biden.
I will now freeze up.
But we are finally, and I emphasize finally, returning to the appropriations.
All right, there
process.
you go. Just get rid of there. We caught the latter portion of Mitch McConnell, a.k.a. the Turtle, announcing that he was endorsing former President Donald J. Trump to be the once and future President Donald J. Trump. Gosh, way to really get out on a limb there, Mitch. You waited until Nikki Haley left and Donald Trump was the last man standing in order to endorse him. How about that? That's
conviction right there.
Well, I mean, I'll give him a little bit of credit. I mean, if he really wanted to hurt Donald Trump, he would have endorsed him months ago. Speaking of Katie Britt, I met Katie years ago when she was the chief of staff for Senator Richard Shelby. She left that role to run the Business Council of Alabama, and then eventually threw her hat into the ring upon the retirement of Senator Richard Shelby to be the next senator from the state of Alabama. I was a little bit hesitant to get behind her candidacy because I felt like it was Richard Shelby attempting to hand select the next sitting senator in the state. I didn't like that. But having gotten to know Katie Britt during my time in Alabama and knowing her today, I'm telling you, this woman is an absolute rock star. And it would
pass.
Yeah, she's married to Wesley Britt, a former University of Alabama football star, and he played for the New England Patriots, I want to say, for a period of time. Big old fella. Big fella.
She's a pretty lady, though.
No, she's very pretty. And she is very, very smart. And I have heard, if you just write this down, put it in an envelope, seal it up, put the date on it, and maybe peel it open a little bit later on this summer. If you want to know a dark horse in the race for vice president, Katie Britt. Donald Trump has a special place for Alabama in his heart. Despite his issues with Jeff Sessions, and those are well documented, he loves Alabama because Alabama was the first time that he saw the true impact he had in the presidential race in 2015. I remember it was soon after I had a conversation with Donald Trump via phone in Birmingham, and I'm not trying to name drop, but it happened. That's when Donald Trump promised to follow me on Twitter. Have I told you this story?
Yeah, he lied to you.
Yeah, he lied to me. Which, you know what? Well, I say he lied to me because it makes a better story. I made a deal with Trump. I said, look, you wrote the art of the deal. I want to make a deal with you. If I can guarantee you 20,000 people at Ladd Peebles Stadium in Mobile, Alabama, tomorrow night when you go down there with Senator Jeff Sessions, will you follow me on Twitter if we get you 20,000? He said, you got it, 20,000, I'm following you. And I said, okay. And he said, okay. And he got like 30,000 people. Where's my follow? Nowhere.
Well, in his defense, I mean, Junior did explain that he didn't give you a date that would begin.
So Bell tells the other side of that story. I had Don Jr. on like 2 years later. And I said, hey, your dad still has, hey, Junior, your dad still hasn't followed me on Twitter. And I tell him the backstory. And he goes, so from what I hear you saying, he didn't tell you when. And I'm like, that's true. And he goes, he said, and I'll never forget this. He said, you have to watch those details with Dad. I was like, well, that's fair enough. But Katie Britt, he has a special place in his heart for Alabama. And while obviously he doesn't need Alabama, I do think he needs a female or potentially an African-American vice presidential candidate. I do believe that it behooves Republicans and Donald Trump. But I don't believe in diversity for diversity's sake, but I'm just telling you from a political perspective, it moves the needles forward in a lot of those ways in terms of women and African-American votes, which he's already made tremendous inroads with the African-American vote. Just watch. Just watch. I'm not saying she's the leader. I'm not saying she's second or third or fourth, but I'm saying she is a dark horse possibility, and she's delivering the Republican response, which, by the way, is always a dangerous task. Remember when Marco Rubio did it several years ago, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago? It was when Obama was president of the United States, and he's giving the Republican response, and he's there in a room by himself. There's no audience. So you're fresh off the heels of, yeah, woo! And then there's one guy in one little room, and he's delivering a speech to a camera. And Rubio, much like a hostage video, he needed a drink of water, and he had to like reach across himself for the water, and he doesn't take his eyes off the camera when he does it. It came off kind of creepy. That's the danger in doing these response videos. But Katie Britt is set to give the Republican response to President Joe Biden's State of the Union address March 7th. Which I know I will be watching for the gaffes alone. 149, we'll get back to shrinkflation just a moment from now. Alan and Tony will get to you right after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Defend Systems. Defend Systems is owned and operated by Brink Fiddler. I know for a time they were looking for a new communications person with Defend Systems. Why? Because they are growing by leaps and bounds. They are growing because they are the best in the business when it comes to safety and security in your business. And I want to tell you about that for just a moment. So whether it's a place of business, as mentioned, school setting, church setting, really any place that people gather, you need to make sure that you are aware of the dangers around you. Now, the possibility, I'm not here to scare you. Brink's not here to scare you, and he'll tell you the same thing. The possibility of a workplace violence situation in your place of business, in your school, in your church is very, very low. But it's not zero, and that's the point, that you need to train yourself, and you need to make sure that your people are trained up to know what to do in the unlikely event that something should happen, like an active shooter situation or workplace violence generally. Security improvement consultation is available, emergency and intruder action plans, rapid response medical training in case something does go down and you need to provide assistance prior to first responders getting there. It's all available from Brink Fiddler, and he will customize his message and his presentation to your specifications. Call him today at 615-236-6484, 236-6484, or go online at defendsystems.com. Defendsystems.com. Hope is not a plan. It is time to get trained with Defend Systems. 156 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. Thank you for spending some time with us live, local, information-fueled, and opinion-driven at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Our episode 525 continues. Another hour to go once this one is complete. Real quick, number of you have noted, and it is duly noted, I said that Mitch McConnell, you're too late in your endorsement of Donald Trump. It seems a little, too late, considering he's the last man standing in the Republican primary contest. And you know what? I consider Governor Bill Lee to be a good guy. Been nice to me. I don't think he's been necessarily, and I understand that I came in after the COVID-19 stuff, and a lot of you are still smarting over that when it comes to Governor Bill Lee. That said, he's been reelected since then. I think Governor Bill Lee's a good guy, and I give Governor Bill Lee the same amount of treatment when it comes to his endorsement today of Donald Trump. Too little, too late, Governor. Why do they feel the need to do this? You either do it when it matters or don't do it at all. I'm not trying to cast aspersions or anything. I just do it when it matters or don't do it at all. No one cares that the Republican governor of Tennessee is endorsing the last remaining Republican candidate for president of the United States. There's no...
Who's been the presumptive nominee for over a year now?
There's no political fortitude there. I almost said something else. There's just nothing. In the meantime, and I'll get to your calls on shrinkflation moments from now. I do have to do top of the hour news first, but I do remind you, breaking news on the immigration front. Frankly, I believe it is. Governor Kathy Hochul is now saying that she will be deploying National Guard and state police to the New York City subway system because of the amount of violence that's happening within that system.
Pure racism. That's racist.
I mean, obviously. So one wonders if she's doing this, and I can't get behind the New York Times paywall, and I sure as hell am not going to pay the New York Times to do it, but one wonders if she's doing this in concert with the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, or in spite of him, one way or the other. They're sending in the troops in New York to help restore law and order because law and order has been so disrupted because of Joe Biden's porous immigration policy, at least in part. And because of a refusal on the part of the politicians in the city of New York and in the state of New York to support their police officers, their men and women in blue. All right, more to come. One more hour to go. We'll get back into shrinkflation with those of you waiting to call on that front. Plus, John Kerry has a couple of things to say about Russia and climate change. I'll play the clip for you in a moment. And I haven't forgotten about Joe Biden and Cookie Monster. That's on the way.
o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 60 degrees, another cloudy day in Nashville. Possibilities for showers, not today, but tomorrow night into Friday and the rest of this weekend. We've got a weather forecast. Tell you all about it. A couple minutes. Right now in Tennessee, Governor Lee came out this morning with a statement endorsing Donald Trump for president. Quote, Republican voters in Tennessee and across the country have made their voices heard. President Trump is the clear choice to take our conservative message to the American people, and I wholeheartedly offer him my full support. He said that the United States will be stronger with Trump as president. Mitch McConnell spoke just now, also giving his endorsement for Trump. And candidate Nikki Haley officially dropped out this morning, and she held a press conference.
I said I wanted Americans to have their voices heard. I have done that. I have no regrets. And although I will no longer be a candidate, I will not stop using my voice for the things I believe in.
She did not officially endorse Trump. Trump earned more than 445,000 votes in Tennessee, while Haley had about 112,000. And right now in Nashville, a new development in the case of a woman who was found dead in a creek last week. Her car was missing until now. Officers are not saying where her car was located, but say it came from a citizen tip. 44-year-old Emily Bradley was reported missing on February 21st, was found dead days later in a creek along Buena Vista Pike near Hummingbird Drive. She had blunt force trauma to her head. Her family thinks she may have been a victim of domestic violence. Police say they continue working active leads. That is the latest news. Got a weather forecast next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, located in Franklin, they want to see you, especially those of you who have been suffering for some time with severe and chronic pain throughout your body, because they can help you. You know, there was a time 30 or so years ago when Dr. Gill first came to Middle Tennessee that chiropractic care was spinal in nature and just about that. Well, now Dr. Gill, thank you to Dr. Gill, has brought so much advanced technology to the program. I mean, things like the spinal decompression technology that virtually everyone uses now originated from the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, at least in Middle Tennessee. And in doing so, in bringing that technology, he advanced the ability that he has to alleviate pain in your body, in your neck, in your knee, in your lower back, in your upper back, in your elbow, in your side, in your hip. Anywhere on your body where you experience pain, they can help alleviate that pain without the constant need for medication, without the need for surgery, and without the need for needles. Let's get this done today, folks. Let's call the Dr. Gill Center and talk to one of their experienced professionals. I know Dr. Wendy took great care of me when I went into the Dr. Gill Center, and I believe she'll do the same for you, or Dr. V or Dr. Dominic, or one of their many, many qualified chiropractic care physicians. Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Here's that number, 615-882-4838, 882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. It is the Matt Murphy Show, hour number 3 on this Wednesday edition. Thank you for being with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A quick programming note. Normally on these Wednesdays in the 2 o'clock hour, we welcome in Cameron Smith. He writes for the Tennessean. He's over in Conservative Closet at the Tennessean. He will not be with us today for a couple of reasons. One, he is sick. Number 2, he is coming in tomorrow. He's going to be in for me tomorrow, but never you fear, you'll get a heavy dose of Murphy tomorrow afternoon. I'm in for Brian Wilson tomorrow from 3 until 7 on the drive, and Cameron is sliding in for me from noon until 3. So, quick programming note, Super Talk 99.7. Brian will be back Friday. All right, many of you calling about shrinkflation. Let's talk about this. Let's start here. Joe Biden wants to talk about the Cookie Monster like the Cookie Monster actually exists. Here's the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
You won't, and think you won't even notice what they've done. When they charge you just as much for the same size bag of potato chips, only has a hell of a lot fewer chips in it. I'll tell you who did notice, the Cookie Monster. He pointed out his cookies are getting smaller, paying the same price. I was stunned when I found out that's what actually happened. But some companies are also adding junk fees. You know, the hidden costs that
junk
to
fees.
your bill without your knowledge. And some companies have been even caught breaking the law while overcharging consumers. The American people are tired of being played for suckers. I mean, it's one thing, no matter how much money you make, no matter how rich or poor or middle class you are, you don't like being taken advantage of. That's why today I'm launching a new strike force on unfair and illegal pricing.
Yes, junk fees. So the president says the Cookie Monster noticed. I don't know what the piano in the background was doing. It was the clip.
It was Cookie Monster playing.
It must have been. Or maybe it was the count. Who knows?
I saw this tweet that they put out after this speech yesterday, and it literally said that they were going to start a strike force to address the illegal activity that goes along with some of these price increases.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I tweeted it out. I'm like, why do we need a new strike force to enforce laws that are already on the books?
Yeah, no, makes no. Well, because they want to present the idea to dumb people that they're doing something.
And I also love his lack of awareness that, you know, with a lot of these junk fees, and especially like with late payment fees and bounce check fees and things like that, instead of just the person paying late paying a fee, now they're going to move these fees to the front end where you pay more up front, and everybody pays them.
The companies have been really clear about what the reaction to all of this is going to be. Up until now, like the easiest example are overdrafts in your bank. You know, the banks offer overdraft protection to prevent you from overdrafting your bank account. And I understand that nobody wants to pay the $36 or whatever. What is it? I have no idea what it is. I understand that nobody wants to pay the money. Well, if you are in danger of potentially overdrafting your account, would you not want to provide yourself overdraft protection? And if you don't do that, is it not your responsibility if you overdraft the account knowing that you're going to be charged that amount of money? Because when the banks do not, and people say, well, that's where the banks make all of their money. Nobody makes you overdraft your account. And I understand bad things happen to good people. I've been there, done that, man. I get it. In my 20s, I was as irresponsible as they come when it comes to my finances. And through a series of events, I was embarrassingly bad in balancing my checking account to the point that I got overdraft fees and I had to pay them. I am ashamed to tell you that I remember a time when, you know, there was a time you could go to the ATM, right? And there was, I think they've repaired this where almost every transaction is immediately taken out of your account now. But there was a time where it would flag your account, say, hey, somebody made a purchase over here on this bank account, on this debit card. That's about to come out tonight. And so you go to the ATM. I don't know if any of you ever experienced it where my bank ATM said, hey, we think that if you take this money out, it's going to result in an overdraft of your account. And do it anyway, knowing that I'm going to have to pay the $30 because I needed the money. But I understood the consequences of the actions that I was taking and at least took responsibility for them. As Bell just noted, these things aren't going to magically disappear off the ledger without trying to figure out a way to make up for that money on some other level. They will charge you up front now instead of on the back end.
And in general, as opposed to only if you pay late.
Right. So now it's not the law. I mean, look at it this way. It's like making alcohol illegal because some people can't stop themselves from drinking and driving. So the entirety of the population suffers, even those of us who engage in the activity responsibly, because of the negative actions of the few. Here's a cleaner version of Joe Biden.
Some of the small snack companies, you won't and think you won't even notice what they're doing. When they charge you just as much for the same size bag of potato chips, only has a hell of a lot fewer chips in it. I'll tell you who did notice, the Cookie Monster. He pointed out his cookies are getting smaller, paying the same price. I was stunned when I found out that's what actually happened.
Joe Biden. and the Cookie Monster. All right, let's go to Alan, who's been holding way too long. Alan, God bless you for your patience. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
I'm well, Alan. Thank you.
Hey, look, I understand those people's visualization. I can't even hardly say it. You know, Gracie with her bacon, and then the other guy with his grandma and the crackers, Graham crackers. But this was my visualization of Joe Biden. You know, and I got to ask you this: have you ever seen the movie Beetlejuice?
I have.
Have you ever, there at the end of it, whenever the witch doctor sprinkled that little dust on his head and it shrunk? I wish somebody would take that clip and replace Beetlejuice's head with Joe Biden's and just watch it shrink on down.
That's good.
I mean, that's my visualization.
Makes my day. That's funny. Little head shrinking on down there.
Well, for what all he's done and from what all he said, I believe somebody done something like that to him.
Well, I mean, he certainly doesn't seem to know what the heck he's talking about. I mean, when the most reasonable and cogent thing that he says is about the Cookie Monster, well, that says a lot more about Joe Biden than it does about the Cookie Monster. Tony is in Tullahoma. Hey, Tony, thank you for your call. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Joe Biden is not aware that the Cookie Monster is smarter than most of the U.S. consumers. You know, he has reading comprehension and mathematics abilities and things like that. But the reason these companies are following suit with other companies doing this, because if you had a company and you were selling ice cream, say at $4 a half gallon, and my company comes along and I'm selling it for $3 for a liter. Well, even though they're on the shelf side by side in about the same size packages, you're offering twice as much ice cream for $4 as I am for $3. But the consumer sees a $4 package of ice cream and a $3 package of ice cream. They're both ice cream. They're both good. They're both strawberry. I'll take the $3 one. And that's why the company selling the half gallon has to shrink his down to the other same size as his competition, or his will be left sitting there on the shelf.
Well, and I know it's just an example, but to further the example, another response that a company could make, and I think it's happened in the ice cream game. Isn't there a company that proclaims, hey, we're still a half gallon, and they advertise? I want to say, it might not be Bluebell, but I want to say, well, regardless, I think one of the companies responded to the shrinkage of the packaging of the other companies by saying, hey, we're still a half gallon. We haven't shrunk our packaging. So that's another way to combat some of what the companies are doing.
Yeah, I guess so, but people don't read that deep into it, sadly. They see a $4 package and a $3 package, and they can save $1 by buying the $3 package, and they're out the door.
Well, I mean, you know what? It is up to us as consumers, Tony. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I understand it. And, you know, and frankly, if I'm a business owner and the consumer's going to choose to not pay attention, I'm in business to make a profit, right? So, you know.
There you go.
The businesses are going to do what the businesses want to do in order to make a profit for the business and for the shareholders of said business. And if the customers are unaware of the manner in which they're doing that, it's kind of on the customer. That's a little bit of caveat emptor, which I learned from. Where'd you learn caveat emptor from?
eBay.
You know where I learned it from?
Where?
Brady Bunch.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
They had an episode about caveat emptor. Mike was teaching, one of them. I don't know, one of the whiny ones.
Well, you have 6 choices there.
That's true.
It was Bluebell.
Yeah, Bluebell. Still a half gallon, baby. We haven't shrunk our packaging. We're still a full half gallon. So that's a way that a company could respond to the shrinkage of some other products. Kirk. Hey, Kirk.
Here's the way that works, though.
Hey, Kirk.
That's how you keep.
Uh-oh.
You keep breeding.
Oh no.
Unfortunates. That's the best. I'll just leave it at that because it's already
careful on the Done dump button there. Hey, yeah. Kirk.
So the values, if you want to go to the shrinkflation, that lady was talking about the bacon and the packaging. I think you have
Kirk's having a conversation with somebody else about us. That's kind of cool. He's telling his buddy, yeah, I'm on hold. I'm talking to this knucklehead on the radio. He's an idiot.
He's talking about Gracie, too.
No, and this lady was talking about bacon, and he's talking about shrinkflation. I'm just waiting to talk to him. Let's see if he's back. No, he's still talking.
That is exactly perfect. You cannot weigh it after you cooked it. But
he was saying that I said something perfectly.
What I was going to expand upon is the fact that when I worked at a lot of restaurants, but they sell them as 8 ounces.
What? What's happening? What's happening?
Maybe he's got multiple radio stations he's listening.
I don't know. Let's try it one more time. Hey, Kirk!
Hey,
Kirk is in Nashville. It's time for Kirk.
What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Kirk? How are you?
Good, bro. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Welcome to the crazy train where we don't run off the rails.
Hey, Kirk, we were just listening to you have a conversation with somebody else for a minute there. Who are you talking to?
Yeah. It is time. The queue has been. The question and answer is here.
Wait, Kirk is still not talking to me.
Yeah. I'm here, bro. I'm here.
Oh, you are talking to me. Okay.
Thank you for welcoming me to your show.
Yes, I'm very confused.
Thank you for welcoming me to your show.
Well, you're welcome. I'm still very. Are you talking to me right now?
Yes.
Who were you talking to a minute ago?
Well, I was listening. I figured.
Oh, you were kind of okay. All right. Well, we're on the radio now, so turn your radio down. Turn your radio down, and let's talk on the telephone.
Man doesn't go off the crazy train over here.
Okay.
I got you. I will be as professional because this is a radio.
Let's do it.
There's certain things you can't say, but I will say this: as far as shrinkage, what's going to happen is more than likely that's why they're doing the chips in their car.
Okay, good.
Like the shrinkage, what's really going to be is that the money's going to disappear.
The money's going to disappear.
Yes, the money is going to go to a digital currency. That's what they've been pushing. They've been pushing it.
Well,
so the way the shrinkage is going to go is that they're not going to. It's going to be disappeared. Like the way the gold happened with the fiat currency. We have fiat currency. And so the thing is, you're talking about specifically, it sucks because Blue Bell was an old school. The values were there. The values, true democracy and true capitalism. True capitalism is legitimate, but the way they pushed it, it's not there anymore.
I agree 100%. I'm right there with you. I feel like Kirk was making more sense when he was talking to himself. Anybody else?
Yeah. Hard to argue that.
He's more of a monologuist.
I would prefer it. It's just me. I mean, I'm just one member of the show. You're a member. All of us are members. We're a part of it. I mean, I know my name's on the door, but, there's Bell, Kay, Mac Morey's a part of the show. I mean, all of you are a part of the show. But I think I speak for all of us when I would like to say, when we talk about shrinkflation, we're going to call it shrinkflation. We're not going to call it shrinkage. We're not going to do that. Because I just think, have you seen the Costanza?
Yes.
I mean, who hasn't? There's shrinkage! He's running. Ah!
You said careful.
We should have asked him if he had been in the pool.
Man, the pool is cold.
Right.
Shrinkage.
They used to make those pools bigger.
Ladies, we're talking about laundry.
They used to make those pools large, and now they've... Anyway. 21 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7. Right now, people are wishing the length of this show would shrink. And I'm one of them. We'll be back. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. I want to talk with you for a moment about your health care. I know shrinkflation when it comes to your health care, right? I mean, you want robust health care that's going to serve your needs for you and your family, but you do not wish to overpay. I understand that. That's box one. And number two, you want to make sure that you don't have to pay for things you don't need. I mean, sadly, with, programs like Obamacare, you're paying for maternity care. You might not need maternity care. I mean, if you're an older American and you don't need maternity care, why are you paying for that? Well, Pat Davis is your health plan man. And at yourhealthplanman.com, if you pay for your own health insurance, or if you're looking for coverage, he encourages you to give him a call or go to his website right now today, right? You don't have to wait until these open enrollment periods. They can provide sound advice, and their team of experts have well in excess of a quarter century of experience combined. Their Freedom of Choice plan, just to pick an example, allows you to pick your doctor. It's 30 to 60% lower in cost than Obamacare. The monthly premiums are independent of your income, so there's no surprise tax bills. If you pay for your own health insurance, if you are uninsured, if you are on COBRA, or if your employer insurance is just too expensive, call Your Health Plan Man and yourhealthplanman.com. They can assist you, I promise you. 855-4-PLAN-MAN. That's 855-475-2662. Or go to yourhealthplanman.com. That's yourhealthplanman.com. They will design a plan that is managed by you, not by the government. Yourhealthplanman.com.
Some money news concerning interest rates, possible legislation in Tennessee regarding pets in restaurants, and mail ballots in California. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you say mail ballots? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Mail? Like men ballot? Like
men are no longer allowed to vote in California.
I guess I have to wait until 2:30 to know if we're talking MALE or MAIL. We'll find out together at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, and until we listen to Mac Moore doing the newscast, it's me and it's you. And I've got a couple of other things for you, like these ridiculous, nonsensical I won't. You know what? I wanted to call them hags, but I don't think I should call them hags. These folks on MSNBC who decided that they thought it would be funny to joke about people losing their lives and being viciously raped by illegal immigrants in Virginia. We'll share that post for you in just a moment. This happened last night. You have to forgive them, though. They were deep in contemplative thought regarding the consequences of the Trump victories last evening in a variety of different Super Tuesday states. So we'll get into that in a moment. Jim is in Tullahoma in the meantime. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm well, Jim. What's on your mind?
Well, I was wondering if you ever heard about that chip company that was wanting to sell more chips, and they went to the school where a bunch of little kids were and everything else, and they went ahead and they said, well, what are your ideas for, selling more chips? We want to get something that really kind of boosts our economy and everything else. And one little guy says, put more chips in the bag. You want to sell more chips.
Right.
No. That was
right. I'm not trying to poo-poo. I didn't know if you were trying to make a joke or not, Jim. I'm sorry.
That was a joke. But anyway, I just wanted to know if you thought that Biden
is your real name Dan Mandis? I'm just kidding. That was my version of a bad joke.
I know it. But anyway, I didn't know if you thought that maybe Joe Biden had taken classes from Tommy Smothers.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean,
my God. To me, I just, Tommy, he was a good guy, but I tell you what, he used to play Smothers Brothers. And when I see Joe Biden, I think it's just like Tommy Smothers on stage.
He's just, was Tommy the one that always played dumb?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Because that's what Joe Biden's just looking around like he's a moron, like he doesn't know where he is or what day it is. And
so that Republicans just go ahead and put him into a case where we go ahead and say he's incompetent, and then all of a sudden all these other things go away. All this money laundering and everything else. If he's incompetent, he can't stand trial.
I mean, it's fascinating. There were. I'm old enough to remember, and thank you, Jim, for the call, and thank you for the joke. I apologize. I don't think I got it quite off the bat. And that's on me. Just put more in the bag. Oh, it was a joke, Mr. President. Jim was telling a joke. That's the point. And then he told a joke about you, sir, about you reminding him of Tommy Smothers, which you kind of do. It would be funny if it weren't so frustrating, the lack of ability that we have to understand our power to control all of this. Well, I don't say you, because I think most of you get it. The last thing we want is to employ the power of the government of the United States of America to control the amount of chips in a potato chip bag. You understand that? When government takes over the dynamics of the private means of production, that's not free market capitalism. That is what we refer to as socialism. Democrats have no problem with it. Susan's in Smyrna. Hey, Susan. Thank you for your call. How are you?
Hi, great. Thanks for taking my call.
Well, you're welcome.
I don't know why this shrinkflation thing is like a big surprise to Biden or anybody else. It's been happening since like the 80s. I mean, my perfect example is their jar of spaghetti sauce. Used to be 32 ounces. Now it's 24. And nobody seems to have noticed or complained or cared as it shrunk down and down. Every little ounce makes more money for the company. I get that. So I'm just floored that Biden is just now, this is breaking news. This is big news in Washington that they've been, shrinking the size of packages for 30 years. It just tells you how much out of touch the Democrats are. They just don't know what's going on.
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, there have been peaks and valleys when it comes to how companies respond to production needs and production costs. And thank you, Susan, for the call. I've got to respond to Mac Maury's desire to do some news right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't know if you know this, Maury, or not, but there was a time when we got spaghetti sauce, it was like a wheelbarrow full of spaghetti sauce. Like
the Costco size.
Yeah, right. But I mean, every it was like a vat of spaghetti sauce. And slowly but surely, shrinkflation has shrunk the size of that spaghetti sauce. It's 2:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.231, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 61 degrees, cloudy, overcast day in Music City. Got a weather forecast on the way in 2 minutes. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell addressed concern about the risk of cutting interest rates too soon this year, especially after January's month-to-month price increase. Im Nguyen.
Despite the latest inflation data showing some prices picking up in January, Fed Chair Jerome Powell didn't express concern over the direction of inflation, underlining how rates are slowing for both goods and services. But he said his teams are being careful over when to reduce its benchmark rate.
We're just being careful, and because the economy is so strong and the labor market's so strong, we think we can and should be careful as we approach that decision.
Some possible legislation in Tennessee. Fox 17 reports that a bill that would keep untrained service animals out of restaurants is moving forward in the state. Senate Bill 1595 would keep live animals out of food service establishments and would give restaurants power to turn away patrons with pets. The law pertains to service animals, emotional support animals, patrol dogs with police or security officers, and even live fish. The bill passed the Senate 88-4 this week. It still needs to pass the House. Lawmakers are hoping to bring a similar bill to grocery stores next year. In voting by mail, it's been controversial in recent years, but California election officials say voters are making it clear that it's the preferred choice and gets more Americans to vote. Alex Stone.
Turnout in the primary appears to have been low in California, but state election officials say it would have been even lower without mail-in ballots. For the past 3 years, California has automatically mailed a ballot to every registered voter. Voters can decide if they want to mail it back in or vote in person, but voters overwhelmingly seem to enjoy the ease of voting by mail, says Kristen Conley, the clerk and recorder in Contra Costa County.
Between 90 and 95% of our cast ballots have come in through vote by mail.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
What's in your body, friends? Let's face it, you are full of it. I get told I'm full of it a lot of times, but it has nothing to do with my digestive system nor my digestive health. But that's what we're talking about when we talk about Members Nutrition and their Daily Defense Youthful Cleanse at Members Nutrition. Let's take control of our health and control of our digestive system. The first thing you have to do, the first way to do that, is to cleanse yourself. The Daily Defense Youthful Cleanse gives you a reliable and effective solution to support your digestive system. You take the cleanse. It's made right here in the good old USA, so you know that the products that you're putting in your body are good products. The various ingredients are listed right there on the bottle. It boosts digestive performance. They formulate a blend of natural ingredients that works to promote healthy and regular bowel movements. By eliminating built-up waste and toxins in your body, it supports digestive function, giving you the ability to absorb nutrients better. It detoxifies you. It cleanses you. It gets all of these bad things out. And sadly, it is a matter of fact that a lot of what we eat have chemicals in it, and that gets clogged up in our system and clogged up in our bodies. We want to cleanse ourselves of those clogs. Start the process by going to membersnutrition.com and find out the Members Nutrition difference. They believe they can, and they do this on a daily basis. They sell at a lower price point than the brick and mortar stores. They can give you a quality product for less at Members Nutrition. They do it every day. Membersnutrition.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Members Nutrition. All right, friends, Tennessee Men's Clinic wants to talk to you, particularly you men, but you ladies in the listening audience, I want to speak with you as well. Because more and more, as Evan Bass has told me, and I think he's related it to you, the listening audience as well, when he first started Tennessee Men's Clinic, almost exclusively the telephone calls he got were from men themselves. Now, more and more, ladies are calling for their guys, for their loved ones, based on energy levels, based on a lack of motivation or drive, whether it be in the bedroom or otherwise. You don't have to put up with this, guys, and the ladies know you don't have to put up with it either. So, ladies, if your guy has, if you've noticed a lack of energy, a lack of motivation, and it doesn't have to deal with the bedroom necessarily, but that is a symptom of an overall problem of a lower T level or something else going on inside of their bodies. Let's get this checked out. Men have a tendency to whistle past that graveyard. No longer. We're going to check it out with the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They are quality urologists. They know their business, and they can help assist you guys in getting you back to good, solid health and getting you back to performance again. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com are 2 locations. One's in Midtown Nashville. The other's in Cool Springs. Call today for an appointment. 615-208-9090. 208-9090 for our friends at Tennessee Men's Clinic. Man, oh man, we've gone all around the sun and back again. We've talked about, obviously, the election results from last night, this morning's development. We were wondering last evening, I'll talk with Brian Wilson about it here moments from now. All night last night, we were speculating, what is Nikki Haley thinking? What might she do? What might not she do with regard to the results that were coming in throughout the evening last night? Now, you know, she spent her campaign. You know how much she spent? You want to guess? Do you know? Have you seen this figure, by the way?
I haven't, but I would assume, what, 75, 100 million?
$114 million. Pretty good guess, by the way. $114 million. And for those efforts, she won one. Don't make me laugh. I got to say this with a straight face. Nikki Haley spent $114 million. And she won one more primary than Jason Palmer. Do you know who Jason Palmer is? Jason Palmer beat Joe Biden in American Samoa last night. Jason Palmer, a person that you've never heard of, and you shouldn't have ever heard of them. He's some sort of venture capitalist. I don't know why he's in the race. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he does, really. But I know that the frustration and abject disgust in a lack of selection on the Democrat side of things led to American Samoa voting for Jason Palmer over Joe Biden. So,
did you see how many votes were cast?
No, I did not.
It was like just a little over 100.
Well, that's all good.
It's an American Samoa. I think that's
American
probably
Samoa.
close to the entire population.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there you go. I mean, he won. I mean, that's just a little more than the D.C. population of Republicans that went out and voted for, or quote-unquote Republicans, that went out and voted for Nikki Haley. So Nikki Haley's out. The rematch that I certainly wanted, that the Tennessean claims nobody wanted, but I wanted it, Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. It is on from now until November. Remains to be seen whether or not Joe is able to answer the bell when the time comes at the convention and beyond. So there's that going on. We talked about daylight saving time and the fact that that's happening this weekend, and every time it happens, I complain about it, and every time I complain about it, the parents get mad at me because they don't want their kids standing outside of the bus stop in dark, and then it leaves me with an argument with parents. And, of course, we've been discussing shrinkflation. Matthew is on the line to discuss that subject itself. Hello, Matthew. How are you?
Very good. How about you, sir?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Very good. Yeah, I got a thought for you here. So with shrinkflation, everybody's talking about the chips. So my thought, I'm around a lot of these states, and I travel in my job, and I hit a lot of different states and a lot of little convenience stores and stuff there. What I notice a lot of is I think of maybe a redistribution of wealth here that takes place because of some of these chips. They've actually reduced the amount of chips that's in the bag. They've also prepackaged the pricing on the chips, and the clientele that purchases a lot of these prepackaged lower ounce volume is it's a lot of funded from free income, free food stamps. So you have a lot of people that are purchasing these. It's free money to me and you, somebody that earns every. Yeah, free money. But to myself, I work my job. I have to go to the grocery store. I have to pay my hard-earned cash to go. I'm constantly looking at the cost of items. I'm constantly looking at how much per ounce that something costs before I'm going to purchase it. But it's just a thought of mine, that happens in increments. Where this inflation is coming from is we're fighting an uphill battle because the free money, I'm fighting myself working a 40-hour job plus to get that same amount of cash, but it's money that is being handed for anybody that has their handout, gets the free money, and they're buying these items that are prepackaged and name brand. That's a thought that I have.
If I were king of the world, Matthew, I would eliminate this problem by eliminating the ability of convenience stores to accept EBT altogether.
Yep.
And there has to be, and, some would suggest, well, how do you distinguish, a convenience store between a small grocery or, we could figure that out. But to your point, yeah, I understand the frustration. I'm frustrated that there are people that are allowed to spend EBT on certain types of food that demonstrate no real nutritional value. And certainly it is against the spirit of why we have that social safety net that used to be called food stamps that's now called EBT in the first place. So, yeah, I think it sounds to me your frustration is more than the packaging of the product or the lack of amount of food in the product. It's more that you're working your tail off to afford to pay for a product that seems to grow less and less and less as time goes on. In the meantime, the next guy in line is able to get that product essentially using your money.
That's exactly right. Yes, and it continues to happen, and there's no fighting against it because when it's if it's my money, I'm going to have to put things back on the shelf. But if I was living under my parents' roof or the government assistance, I don't have to put that back. I can just buy 2 of them because it's free.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So,
well, right,
yeah,
and so there's a portion of and it makes sense. I understand what you're saying. And thank you, Matthew, for the call. There's a portion of the population that doesn't care that the amount within the packaging of the product is going down because they're not really paying for it anyway. But those individuals are still consuming the product, and the product manufacturers are still getting paid. They're just getting paid from a different source. You and me, the tax-paying citizens that pay into the food stamp program to begin with. No, I would revamp the food stamp program. I think that it's a topic that would open up a wealth of conversation, and maybe it's a little too late to discuss it today. But here's what I would say: just food for thought. Maybe we'll pick it up tomorrow. Literally and figuratively, food for thought. Shame is an emotion that our society has attempted to get rid of. But shame as an individually felt emotion is something that we don't like, but there's a reason that we don't like it. It is our body, our conscience, it is our selves telling us that something about our current condition is wrong. And if used properly, if understood properly, the concept of shame should be a motivating factor. In other words, when you touch your hand to a hot stove and you're a kid, do you learn something about that? Now, I wouldn't want you to intentionally do that to learn this lesson. I would hope that you could learn your lesson in better ways. But if you ever touch your hand to a hot stove, you learn pretty quickly that is something that you don't want to experience again, and so you don't touch your hand to the hot stove anymore. Similarly, the idea of shame should be a motivating factor to not put yourself in the position to have to experience it again. We have taken away the shame of depending on other people to take care of ourselves or take care of our children. Murphy, how dare you say these things? You want people to feel ashamed? Yes. Because I want them to pick themselves up and I want them to accept the available resources that we make available to them to make sure that they're never in that position again, to have to depend on other people for their very lives. Shame, for lack of a better way of putting it, is good. Maybe expand on that concept sometime down the road. In the meantime, we'll talk with Brian Wilson next on Super Talk 99.7 WT and see what he's got going on. See his reaction to last night's big event from Nashville Palace. That's next. Winding down, I never got, I always leave things on the table. I never got to this ridiculous exchange on MSNBC between Jen Psaki and Rachel Maddow regarding the fact that they live in Virginia, and they just thought it was as amusing as all get out that immigration was the number one issue in Virginia. Ha, ha, ha. We live next to West Virginia. Ha, ha, ha. I don't know if Brian Wilson will be playing that clip, but it will infuriate you if he chooses to do so. He does join us to talk about what he has got going on this afternoon. First and foremost, Mr. Wilson, thank you so much for everything you did for last night. I know it's 4 hours being on air and being live and present for the people that are there. That is hard duty, man. And we just get to come in on the back end and do an hour or so. But you did great work.
I love doing it, and I tell you what, those days, those long days, because I started with Dan Mandis in the morning. Of course, then I felt like, well, I've really given it my all today. Until Dan Mandis reminded me that he got up at 1 a.m. and had not been to bed, and I thought, well, I better just shut up now. I forgot about those early morning calls. They're rough.
What a packed house,
it was
though,
a
right?
fun thing. It really was. What a tremendous night. And I tell you what, I always enjoy it when we four get together.
I do too.
And sit down, because there's a lot of brain power oozing off of that table last night. I don't know. That's a sort of a bad visual image, but nonetheless, I mean, we really, there was a lot of intelligent conversation, and I'm very much in favor of us trying to get together, all four of us, from time to time.
Love it.
Maybe we don't go to do a big live event. We just get in a studio with 4 microphones and sort of chew the fat sometime, but I would love to do that because I thought it was great.
I did too, and there was much speculation on the table between the four of us about what would happen after what we consider to be a foregone conclusion. Obviously, it was that Donald Trump would almost wipe or sweep the night. I guess Vermont was the one state that he did not win. However, now we have our answer. Nikki Haley is out. And you know what? It makes sense that the money dries up, and you know what? She finally gets to listen to some of those voices in her ear, I suppose, that are telling her, if you got a future, then you might want to get out now. I'm certain that this is going to be a topic for you this afternoon.
It may be the first thing I talk about when we start in just a few moments, right here on the drive at 3 o'clock.
Well, we look forward to that. Brian Wilson coming up in mere seconds. Look forward to his conversation with you for the next 4 hours, right after McMurray does his newscast. And that's coming up right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And then the drive will be back at high noon tomorrow. Until then, have a wonderful evening, folks. Hug your loved ones. We'll see you tomorrow. So long.